In the quiet darkness of space, the great starship Sanctum Arc floated silently. It was old, massive, and sacred. Many alien races knew its name, and even more feared what was inside. There was only one rule, a law passed down by thousands of alien governments: do not wake the humans. No one knew who created the law first. No one dared to break it. The reason was never written. It was just understood. If you wake a human, things go bad. But on Deck 17, in Cryo Sector 7, a young alien named Drell was about to make a terrible mistake. Drell was a junior caretaker, fresh from training. He belonged to the Volari species, tall, thin, with skin like soft stone. This was his first long watch alone. The rest of the caretakers were in sleep shifts. The Ark's deep systems were stable, and the humans inside the cryo chambers had not stirred for hundreds of years. Drell was bored. He walked between rows of sealed cryopods, long silver tubes, each holding one human. There were over 4,000 of them on this ship. The glass tops were fogged, the lights calm. Each pod had a label, "Human, do not disturb." Drell spoke softly to himself. Why are they so special? They just sleep. They don't speak. They don't move. They just exist. The computer chirped softly in the background. Drell tapped on a control panel, watching life support graphs. All normal, perfect, even, still. Curiosity pulled at him. He moved to pod number 0192. The name on it was short, Elias Ward. No rank, no title. Just a name. Drell stared at the frosted glass. He couldn't see the human's face, only a vague shape. He pressed a button to clear the frost. The inside of the pod became visible. There, floating peacefully, was a man, maybe in his 30s, with short hair and a strange calm on his face. He looked ordinary. Dr. L leaned closer. He doesn't look dangerous, he whispered. A small red button glowed beside the pod. Manual scan restricted. Drell hesitated. His hand hovered over it. I won't wake him, he said, to no one. Just a scan. No, just to see the readings. That's not against the law, right? He tapped the button. For 2 seconds. Nothing happened. Then all the lights flickered. The floor beneath Drell's feet rumbled softly. The glass of pod number 0192 lit up with blue light. Symbols scrolled across the display, symbols Drell had never seen before. The language was human. Drell backed away. Cancel scan, he said quickly. Computer, cancel. The computer did not respond. Instead, it spoke a word Drell had never heard from it before. Awakening. Drell froze. No, no, no. I didn't mean to. The lights turned red. A low alarm began to hum, quiet but threatening. The pod hissed. Steam rose from the seals. The temperature inside the pod rose quickly. On the display, one word blinked. Waking. Drell turned to run, but something made him stop. A sound. From behind him, he turned back slowly. Inside the pod, Elias Ward opened his eyes. They weren't sleepy. They weren't confused. They were sharp, focused, aware. Drell's heart pounded. He took a step back, then another. Elias did not move, but his eyes followed Drell. Subject is aware, Drell whispered, activating his wrist com. Cryo Command, this is Deck 17. I have a breach. Human in pod 0192 is awake. Repeat, human is awake. No reply. The com was silent. Drell looked at his device. It had no signal. He tried. Again, nothing. He turned and ran for the exit, but the doors were sealed shut. The Ark had locked him. Inside, he looked around. All the other pods were still sealed, still sleeping, still safe. Only one man had opened his eyes, and he was watching. Elias slowly raised a hand inside the pod, placed it on the glass. A soft tap echoed through the chamber. Once. Twice. Drell couldn't breathe. Then Elias smiled. It wasn't friendly in the far distance. Alarms started to spread across the Ark. Emergency lights spun. Systems reset. Power lines rerouted. And somewhere, deep within the main computer core, an old command woke up after centuries of silence. Human protocol active. The ship was no longer in control of the crew. The ship was listening to someone else. The red lights blinked across the sanctum arc. Doors locked. Pathways shut. The ship, once calm and silent, now felt alive, but in a different way. It wasn't panic. It was precision. It was preparation. And at the center of it all, Elias Ward was fully awake. Inside Cryo Sector 7, the cryopod lid slowly opened with a hiss. A cloud of freezing mist rolled out. Elias stepped forward, barefoot, his skin pale, but his movements strong. His eyes scanned the chamber, sharp, cold, calculating. Drell couldn't move. He was frozen in fear near the wall. The human stood tall now. His cryosuit hung loosely on him, but his presence filled the room. "You're not supposed to be awake," Drell finally said in a whisper. Elias turned his head slightly. "And yet here I am." My voice was calm, not angry, not loud. It hit like a weapon. It was the first human voice Drell had ever heard in real life, and it felt wrong. Not because of the sound, but because it carried weight. "Command. History. How long have I been asleep?" Elias asked. Dr. L shook but answered. "Over 400 cycles. Almost 5. Elias nodded slowly. "Too long." Stepped off. The pod platform. The floor lights turned on where his feet touched. The ark was reacting not like it was being controlled, but like it was. Welcoming him. Drell opened his mouth. I didn't mean to, I know," Elias said. "Cutting him off? You were curious. That's how it always starts." Drell blinked. "Always." Elias didn't answer. Instead, he walked past the alien and placed a hand on the wall. The metal glowed under his fingers. Instantly, every screen in the room turned on. Data flowed. Human code, strange symbols, encrypted commands. The ship recognized him. On the top screen, a line appeared. Subject 0 Elias Ward status. Prime command restored, Drell gasped. "You're not just a human. You're one of the original ones. A commander." Elias didn't look away from the screen. "No, I was the failsafe." Behind them, the sealed chamber doors hissed and opened. The lock override, one no one in the crew could access, had responded to. Ilias's presence. He stepped out into the corridor. Emergency lights tracked him. The ship adjusted temperature and oxygen levels instantly. The ark for centuries. Passive, now responded like a loyal beast that had finally heard its master's voice. Drell followed slowly. "What are you doing, Elias?" "Didn't stop. I'm waking up the system. I'm testing if it still remembers me." Drell's voice cracked. "The others? The other humans? Are you going to wake them too?" Elias stopped at the lift chamber. "No," he said. "Not yet. You woke me alone." "That gives this galaxy one last chance." "One chance to do what?" "To explain why we're still in stasis," Elias said. The lift door opened. It showed a path down to the core deck, restricted to only the highest-ranking shipmasters. Elias entered without hesitation. Drell stayed back. "You'll trigger security." "There is no security left on this ship that can stop me," Elias replied, looking back with eyes that held galaxies of memory. "And soon, the galaxy will. Remember why they made one law? Let the humans sleep?" Meanwhile, on the Galactic Council's core station, a red alert blinked on their ancient war screens. A signal that hadn't activated in centuries. The lead technician, a Cathari with glowing eyes, dropped his tablet. This can't be real." Council commander, a reptilian elder named Vorex, growled. The technician pointed to the symbol. "Human signal. Live. From the sanctum arc, one of them is awake." Silence fell in the chamber, then panic back on the ark. Elias entered the core deck. The room was empty, cold, and untouched for centuries. At its center, a black interface hovered, the ship mind. It lit up the moment Elias stepped in. "Welcome back, Commander Ward. Protocol Omega, ready for execution." "Not yet," Elias replied. "First, show me what happened. Show me the galaxy after Earth fell." The ship mind obeyed. Holograms appeared. Maps, wars, treaties, betrayals. One image stood still. The moment the council ordered the humans into permanent stasis. Out of fear, not care. Ilias's jaw tightened. His hand clenched. So, they lied, he whispered. Across space, the council debated war protocols. They didn't realize Elias was not waking for revenge. He was waking because something had gone wrong, something worse than war, and now he was here to fix it, no matter what stood in the way. In the center of the Sanctum Ark's core deck, Elias Ward stood silent, surrounded by floating holograms, images of war, broken treaties, human cities burning. Alien fleets orbiting Earth. He watched every second, and he remembered everything. That was the first problem. The memory lock. The one that was supposed to erase pain. Anger and betrayal had failed. It hadn't faded. It had sharpened far above the core deck. Drell was running through the ship. He wasn't running from Elias. No, he was running toward the control bridge. He needed to send a message. He needed to warn someone. Anyone. Because what he saw in Elias's eyes wasn't hate. It was certainty. And Drell finally understood. This wasn't just an awakened human. This was a man built for something else. Something final. Back in the core deck. The ship mind floated closer to Elias. Its voice was smooth, neutral, obedient. Would you like to access military systems? No, Elias said calmly. Not yet. Would you like to begin reactivation of the others? No. Shall I prepare the Ark for departure? Elias hesitated. No, 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 no. He stared at the hologram of Earth, now long gone. Then he looked at the galactic map, stars blinking like nervous eyes. He saw where the alien fleets were stationed, where the human stasis arcs were hidden, where old allies had turned into rulers. No departure yet, Elias said at last. First I want answers. At that very moment, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Counselor Vorik slammed his clawed fist on the war table. I want that human back in stasis. A robotic aide shook its metal head. Possible. Ox-core systems are under human control. We cannot override it. Vorex's eyes narrowed. Then destroy the ship. Send a fleet. Another counselor leaned forward. You forget the prophecy, don't you? The law was made for a reason. Let the humans sleep. Vorik spat. We made that law out of fear, but we are strong now. No, the elder counselor whispered. You are loud. Loud is not strong. On the Ark, Elias walked through the memory corridor, a hidden hallway only known to human commanders. The walls played voices from the past, laughing, crying, orders from generals, screams from civilians, children reciting Earth songs, and then a recording. Subject 0 must never awaken without supervision. He holds command codes, emotional memory, and deep layer instincts. Memory lock installed. If it fails, terminate the subject immediately. Elias stopped walking. He smiled bitterly. They tried to erase me, and when that failed, they left me as a bomb with no timer. He looked up. The corridor was glowing now. His presence had activated everything behind him. A soft voice spoke. You remember everything? It was Drell. He had finally caught up. Elias didn't turn around. Yes, you were supposed to forget, Drell said. I know. Then, why didn't you? Elias finally turned. His eyes were steady. Because the universe needed a reminder. Suddenly warning lights flashed across the Ark. Incoming vessel detected Council-class destroyer. 5 minutes to contact. Drell's eyes went wide. They sent a warship. Elias nodded. Of course they did. It's the only language they understand. But you can't win alone. Elias stepped forward. I'm not alone. I have this Ark. I have my memories. And I have a promise to keep. The shipmind's voice returned. Would you like to speak to them? Elias paused, then nodded. Yes, open channel. The image of the council ship appeared before him. Static lines cleared, and the face of Counselor Vorix filled the screen. You will return to stasis immediately, Vorix barked. Elias stared at him, then said no. Vorix growled. You were locked for a reason. You are unstable, dangerous. Elias leaned forward. You're right, I am dangerous. And your mistake was thinking time would make me forget. Vorex raised a hand. Fire when ready. Leah smiled. Do it. Outside, the destroyer prepared to fire. But the moment they charged their weapons, every screen on their ship went black. One by one, systems shut down. Engines failed. Doors sealed. And then a single message appeared on all their consoles. Elias. Ward. Command recognized. Remote override active. The destroyer began to turn. Without firing a shot, Elias had taken control. Drell stepped back. How did you do that? Elias looked tired but confident. They used human tech to control their fleets. Old code. Safer, they said. Simpler. Guess who wrote that code? Drell nodded slowly. You? Now the ship was his again. The Council destroyer was drifting under his command. The galaxy was waking up not just to Elias, but to the truth. Sanctum Arc floated through space, silent once more but not asleep. The command systems were awake. The lights were steady. Every hallway, every deck. Every system now responded to only one person. Elias Ward, and the ship knew him like a loyal dog. It had been waiting years for its master's return. Drell walked behind Elias, still trying to understand everything he had seen. You control the ship, he said quietly. All of it. Elias didn't look back. That's what I was built for. They entered the Ark's command bridge. It hadn't been touched in 400 years. Dust still floated in the air. The chairs, the consoles, the captain's station, all locked, unused. Until now, the moment Elias stepped forward, the main console lit up in soft blue light. Welcome, Prime Commander. Bridge reactivation complete.
Ow.
The ship wasn't asking for permission, it was following instinct, the instinct written into its code long ago. On the large central screen, the captured destroyer ship could be seen drifting silently. Its weapons were offline. Its crew was helpless. Drell stared at it. You could destroy them. I don't need to, Elias replied. I already won, Drell looked confused. But they came to stop you. Elias turned, slowly toward him. His voice was calm, but heavy. No, Drell. They came because they were afraid. That fear will grow. They'll send more ships, more lies. Maybe even try to destroy this Ark, but they can't. They can try, Elias said, but the Ark was made to survive worse, much worse. Far across the stars, the Council received the signal from their disabled destroyer. No damage, no deaths, just total loss of control. Counselor Vorex stared at the report in disbelief. He didn't fire a single shot. No, sir, the aide replied. He simply took over. Vorex paced. He's awake, and the ship listens only to him. The elder counselor sitting quietly in the corner finally spoke. Now, we must ask ourselves, why was he made? The Ark Elias sat in the command chair. It formed around him like it remembered his shape. The ship mind spoke softly. Would you like to access human archives? Elias nodded. Accessing. A new series of holograms appeared. Blueprints. Mission logs. Hidden orders. One line caught Elias's eye. Command Ward was designed to reactivate only in extreme crisis. Memory lock optional. Code layer. Failsafe class Omega. Drell read it over his shoulder. Extreme crisis. Nothing happened. Elias looked at him. That's what we thought. Turned back to the display. Show me the status of other. Human arcs. The ship mind hesitated, then responded, unable to locate all. 2 confirmed. 1 offline, 1 silent.
Elias.
Narrowed his eyes. Silent.
Nate.
No data for last 50 years. Maybe compromised, Drell spoke up. What happens if an Ark gets attacked? Elias didn't blink. They were made to wake up, in the silent dark across a distant galaxy. Another human Ark lay hidden inside an asteroid field. Suddenly lights flickered. The first human inside shifted in cryo. Warning messages glowed red. Damage detected. The sleep was ending. Back on the Sanctum Arc, Elias stood. They didn't just fear us, Drell, he said. They feared what we would do if the truth came out. The Council didn't keep us. Asleep for peace. They did it to stay in control, Drell asked. What will you do now? Elias turned to him. I'm going to talk to the galaxy. He walked to the old broadcast terminal and placed his hand on the sensor. The ship's antennas adjusted. The broadcast range expanded. A soft beep signaled readiness. The ship mind confirmed. Connected to 7,219 active systems. Transmission ready, Elias breathed slowly and began. To all who can hear this, my name is Elias Ward. I am awake. I remember everything. The wars, the lies, the fear, the peace they promised us in sleep. But we are not weapons. We are not relics. We are not myths. We are human. We are coming back. Not to conquer, but to restore what was taken. We don't need war, but we will not be silenced again. Let this be your only warning. You woke one of us. You do not want to wake the rest. Drell sat in silence as the message ended. The galaxy would hear those words. Billions of beings, millions of leaders. Everyone would remember what they had buried. One human had spoken, and the ship, the most advanced Ark ever built, obeyed only him. The broadcast was done. The words of Elias Ward echoed across the stars. In less than 2 hours, every council system, every pirate relay, every hidden listening station had received the message. You woke one of us. You do not want to wake the rest. Now the galaxy was trembling. The council didn't wait. Panic moved faster than thought. Within minutes of Elias's message, they launched an assault fleet. 5 destroyers, 2 carriers, dozens of hunter-drones, all sent toward one ship, the Sanctum Ark. On the Ark's command bridge, Drell watched the incoming dots on the screen. Red, aggressive, ready to kill. They're serious, he said quietly. Elias didn't look surprised. They were always going to come. Words mean nothing to those who rule through fear. Drell turned to him. Can you stop them? Elias stepped forward. His eyes locked on the fleet's formation. I don't have to. Inside the lead council destroyer, Commander Rallick prepared his troops. He was no stranger to war. His armor was polished, his metals real, but still, something felt wrong. He watched Ilias's message again. That calm voice, that steady face. No threats. It's truth. Rallick turned to his second-in-command. This feels like walking into a trap. The officer nodded, but the council said he's alone. Rallick narrowed his eyes. No human is ever truly alone. Still the orders were clear. Breach the Sanctum Ark. Find Elias. Terminate him on the Ark. Elias stood in Cryosector 7, the same place he had awakened. He looked down the rows of sleeping humans. They're afraid, he said to Drell, because they know what happens. When we stop being quiet, the ship's voice echoed softly. Council fleet approaching. Contact in 60 seconds. Drell moved closer. You're not preparing weapons? Elias shook his head. We have a different kind of defense. He placed his hand on the central control pillar. The floor lit up beneath him. Activate mirror. Shield, he commanded. Activated, replied the ship mind. The council fleet reached the Sanctum Ark. Its black hull floated in space, cold and unmoving. No visible weapons, no fighters. It's just silence. Too quiet. Commander Rallick hesitated. No defense, no ships, no shields. His officer answered, Readings are clean. We can land. Ready the assault team. The docking claws extended, and then everything stopped. Their screens blinked once, then off. Weapons offline, engines frozen, suits locked. The assault team stood frozen mid-step, inside their own hangars, unable to move. Back on the Ark, Drell's eyes widened. What did you do? Elias stood still, calm, quiet. I gave them the illusion of control, he said. But this ship is older than their fleets. It was made before the Council was born, turned away from the cryopods. They never understood what we left. Behind technology they couldn't read. Systems they copied, but never owned. Inside the destroyers, panic spread. Commander Rallick couldn't speak. His cum was dead. His arms refused to move. Across the whole fleet, One single word flashed on every panel. Denied. Back on the bridge of the Ark, the shipmind spoke. Fleet status. Paralyzed. Life support stable. No threat. Drell stared at Elias. "You didn't fire a shot." "I didn't have to," Elias said. Drell swallowed hard. "What are you?" Elias looked him in the eyes. "I'm human." 30 minutes later, the entire assault fleet was drifting untouched. No loss of life, no battle, just silence. Elias sent a return signal. A single sentence: "Go home." Then he released the ships. Slowly, they powered up again. Engines returned. Control returned. The assault team stumbled, shocked. Commander Rallick stared at the stars. "We never even landed." The council was silent when the ships returned. No celebration, no anger. Just one terrible truth. They had lost, without war, and worse, they'd proven the humans didn't need violence to win. On the Sanctum Ark, Elias stood alone, looking out into space. Dr. L walked beside him. "Del, try again." Elias nodded. "They'll fail again." Drell was quiet for a moment, then asked, "What if they don't stop?" Elias looked down the hall of sleeping pods. "Then I stop waiting." For the first time in 400 years, the stars felt tense. The Sanctum Ark was no longer just a ghost ship floating in space. It was alive, awake, and worse for the Councilate. Had spoken, Elias Ward's message was still being replayed across 1,000 systems. Every species that once thought humans were a myth now knew the truth. They weren't dead. They were sleeping. And one had already opened his eyes, far from the Ark. Deep in an asteroid field, near the edge of known space, another human stasis ark stirred. It had been silent for centuries. Now warning lights blinked. Outer hull breach detected. External. Heat signature detected. Wake protocol unlocked. Inside, in pod 001, a woman opened her eyes. Her name was Captain Wren Maddox. She was Earth's last war strategist. She wasn't confused. She was angry. On the Sanctum Ark, Drell stared at the galaxy. "Map. That's the second Ark you've connected to?" Elias nodded. "Yes." One more still silent. "But Maddox is awake now." Drell leaned forward. "What will she do?" Elias turned toward him. "She'll finish what I start." Wind Council space. Alarm bells rang louder than ever. Another message had arrived. Short, direct, from a different Ark. Command online. Earth's flame still burns. CPTR Maddox Counselor Vorex was shaking. "Another one?" "This is spreading." "Nade," whispered Sir. "What if more of them are waking?" Vorex snapped. "Shut them down." "All of them? But how? You don't even know where the Arks are." Vorex slammed the table. "And find them." Back on Maddox's Ark, things were moving fast. Within minutes of her waking, systems came online. Old defense satellites reconnected, and a hidden human satellite launched a signal into deep space. Old code. Hidden code. Silent for centuries. Now it screamed across the void, and across the Sanctum Ark's command deck, the ship mine lit up. Signal received. Prime awakening chain initiated. Drell looked nervous. "What's that mean?" Elias replied. "Without hesitation, it means we're not alone anymore. In far corners of the galaxy, across forgotten moons and hollowed-out planets, Ark beacons began to flash. CRYO-chambers glowed. Pods opened, one by one. Humans were waking up in a dark outpost. A group of alien traders stared at a nearby moon. Moments ago, it was quiet now. A massive structure was rising from beneath the surface. It wasn't a building. It was a ship. One of Earth's last dreadnoughts. Hidden, sleeping, and now very, very awake. Elias watched as new data poured into the bridge. Awakening chain active in 12 sectors. Estimated 3,000 humans awakened. More coming, Drell asked. What will they do? Elias looked out into the stars. They'll remember who they are. Meanwhile, on council worlds, people protested in fear and confusion. Some shouted, "Wake! The humans, and we all die." Others whispered, "Maybe they're here to help." But the leaders only saw one thing, their control slipping. And they made a decision. Destroy the arcs. All of them. War fleets launched in every direction, but they were too late. The humans had already woken, and the arcs they didn't run. They moved. Together, the Sanctum Arc received a ping. This is Arc Polaris, active, standing by. Arc Eden reporting. Life signs stable. Arc Titan online. Awaiting command. Elias stood. Tell them to hold formation. Tell them to prepare. Drell whispered. Prepare for what? Elias didn't smile. Not war, he said. Not yet. Just memory. He turned to the ship mind. Begin full history upload to all awakened humans. In every arc, every ship, every cryo room now open, humans stood still, watching the same truth. The betrayal, the exile, the silence forced. Upon them, the reason they were put to sleep, and none of them forgot. Not this time. The galaxy held its breath. From one end of the stars to the other, the ancient human arcs lit up like fireflies in the dark. No longer silent. No longer sleeping. They were awake, and worse for the council, they remembered everything. Elias. Ward stood on the bridge of the Sanctum Arc, watching as arc after arc connected to the growing human fleet. Each one carried survivors, soldiers, scientists, strategists. Some had been asleep for centuries. Some had just been woken. All were angry, and all remembered what was done to them. Captain. Ren Maddox's voice rang through the fleet-wide comms. They feared our strength, so they buried us. But they forgot one thing. You can bury a seed, and it grows back stronger. Back in council space, the panic grew worse. Every attempt to silence the human signal failed. Their firewalls melted. Their comms were hacked. Their own ships were fed Earth's truth. It wasn't just a war anymore. It was an awakening. On the outer rim, a young alien named Velen watched the human recordings in secret. He had grown up believing humans were monsters. Violent, uncontrollable, dangerous. But now, he saw something else. He saw betrayal. The council had lied. Earth had not started the war. Earth had been framed. Velen wasn't the only one who realized this. Millions across. The stars began to ask the same question. What if the humans were right all along? Inside the command chamber of the council core, the leaders argued, send more fleets. They're too many. And strike their homeworlds. Make an example. But Counselor Vorex just sat in silence, because on his personal monitor, a new message had arrived. A voice from Earth's past. It simply said, we remember the betrayals. We remember the exile. We remember ... you. On the Sanctum Arc, Elias stood beside Drell, both watching the fleet form up. The humans hadn't attacked anyone yet. They hadn't fired a single shot, but the threat was clear. Ships. Moved with military precision, old war formations. Signals passed silently between Arxenation Earth code. It's unreadable to outsiders. Drell asked, are you going to strike first? Elias shook his head. We won't make their mistake. Then what do we do? Make the galaxy see. Make them remember with us. A plan was already in motion. The humans activated the chronovaults. Memory banks filled with Earth's final days. Then they hacked into the Galactic Unity Network, the largest newsfeed in the known universe. And then, they played everything. The galaxy watched. They saw Earth burning, saw false treaties broken by the Council. They saw civilians bombed, its cities erased. Human leaders assassinated under flags of peace. And then, they saw the decision, put them to sleep, let them fade from memory. Every screen and every system repeated those words. A betrayal recorded by Earth's own spies. Out to everyone. Aliens. Fell silent. Entire planets stopped to listen. It wasn't war propaganda. It was the truth. In the slums of Traxxas, Ikes, an old alien merchant whispered, we were told the humans were beasts. His daughter, eyes wide, replied, maybe they were just survivors. Back on the bridge, ShipMind reported over 900 million views. Public opinion shifting. Civil unrest on 37 council planets. Drell looked shocked. You're winning without firing a shot. Elias gave a grim smile. That's the beauty of truth. Right. But the council had other plans. A secret fleet built. In silence was already en route to Earth's solar grave, the old coordinates where Earth once stood. Only, they found nothing. Earth was gone, just stardust. No planet, no remains. Only one thing remained in orbit. A black cube. A message, activated, as soon as the fleet arrived. A voice echoed, "You tried to erase us, so we erased ourselves. First, but not forever. We are Earth's memory, and now we're coming back." Then the cube exploded, sending one last signal. Reclaim protocol. Phase 2 activated. The human fleet moved, not to conquer, not yet, but to reclaim the lost. Ancient colonies. Hidden human outposts. Sleeper agents placed centuries ago. Every one of them began to rise. Not with weapons, but with a purpose. To rebuild what was stolen. The galaxy now stood at a crossroads. On one side, council fading, broken, desperate. To control the truth. On the other, the humans wounded, betrayed, but awake, and more dangerous than ever before. Because they didn't just come. It's back with ships. They came back with memories. The stars had grown silent, not from peace, but from fear. The humans were fully awake now, and the council, once proud rulers of the galaxy, had only one question left to ask themselves: what happens when the ones you buried rise again? High above a dead council moon, the Sanctum Ark hovered, calm as the eye of a storm. Inside, Elias Ward stood before the central holomap. Red dots blinked across council space, each one a fallen outpost, a rebellion. A broadcast of truth. ShipMind spoke calmly. Phase 2 complete. 200 former colonies restored. 63 rebellions underway. 8 council fleets surrendered without combat. Elias turned to Drell. It's not about war. It's about justice. Drell nodded, but the council is scared. They're preparing to launch everything. I know. On the other side of the galaxy, Councillor Vorik stood inside the war core. He gave a cold order. Deploy Project Ashfall. If we can't control the truth, then we will burn it. 10 massive weapons launched each, designed to wipe entire planets clean. They weren't heading toward human fleets. They were heading to worlds where humans had shared their truth. Worlds that had believed them. But the humans had planned for this the moment those missiles left their silos. Old human satellites hidden for centuries reawakened. Massive pulse fields blinked to life across the stars, and every missile turned around, returned to sender. The galaxy watched live as the council bombed itself. It wasn't war, it was karma. On Traxxas 9, Balone stood among millions watching the broadcast. Crowds cheered as news came in. Human tech, long forgotten, was protecting the innocent. They weren't conquerors, they were defenders. The galaxy began to chant in a dozen alien languages. Let the humans lead. Inside the Sanctum Ark, Drell whispered, they came to erase you, but now they're begging for your voice. Elias nodded. It's time. He opened a channel, one that reached every system, every species, every ship, planet and soul, and he spoke. We are the ones you feared, and the ones you silenced. You called us dangerous, violent, but we were only ever one thing free. You thought sleep would stop us, but sleep only gave us time. Time to forgive, time to remember, and time to return. Then, the final command was issued, not to destroy, not to conquer, but to replace. Humanity launched the Unity Protocol, a new network, free information, no more lies, no more control. Every alien species who chose truth was invited. Every world that had suffered under the Council's fear was offered freedom, no oaths, No force, just choice. And they chose, by the billions, in the war core. Counselor Vorix watched as screen after screen went dark. Entire fleets defected. Worlds switched allegiance. Even his own guards removed their crests. He sank to the floor and muttered, "We should have let them sleep." In that moment, the council fell, not with weapons, but with memory, back aboard the Sanctum Ark. Elias walked to a window and looked out. The stars now belonged to everyone. Dr. L asked, "What happens now?" Elias smiled softly. "Now we build. For all of us." And so, the galaxy was reborn. Not under rule, not under fear, but under a truth that could no longer be silenced. Because when the humans had slept, the galaxy thought it was safe. But now the galaxy had learned. You should never wake a sleeping giant. And even worse, you should never betray it.